Hi, everybody. Robin here at Toadstool Tarot. I have a special guest with me today who I'll reintroduce in a minute. It's Ted Veitch. And I want to welcome you. And I also want to welcome Ange of Roots and Waves, Saskia Handley, and Elspeth into the chat. First ones here today. Before we get further along, I will reintroduce Ted in a minute. I wanted to show you, if anybody likes Charlie Brown Christmas like I do, I ordered this online and thought this was fun. I like it for Charlie Brown, but I also like it particularly for the Vince Guaraldi score. And so this is, I guess, sort of a fan t-shirt for Vince Guaraldi. And I love these two characters in particular in the onstage dance scene. So I went and ordered this, and I just discovered something else by talking to Ted. So let me introduce Ted Veitch. Ted, welcome.
Thank you, Robin. It's an honor.
And you have something to tell me about the horrible guys. I ordered the horrible Charlie Brown tarot months ago. It is such bad production that I didn't even want to do a walkthrough on this. But Ted has some interesting things to say about that.
Yeah, well, when you showed me the T-shirt, it reminded me of that deck. It was an internet-only release, and the individual who put that together, they said, "Hey, please don't sue me. This is just for fun." But I think the tarot community, we love anything that's just completely an interesting take on RWS, or all things tarot. So it became a thing. And it was one of the decks that I had come across, and I just decided with my background to just make a personal copy for myself. So I saw your shirt, and yeah, at one time I had re-illustrated the Peanuts tarot. So it's pretty muted with the colors compared to that, but it's not pixelated.
So I'm curious, when you said with your background, what is your background?
So I've, in one way or another, I've been an artist my entire life. But as far as my adult life, I was a graphic designer for over 20 years. So that's illustration, painting, digital design, web application development, etc.
That's great. I just want to welcome in a couple people that came in late. SCB, Rolf, Red Wing. I think that's it. Okay, welcome everybody. So let's go back. Well, I will tell everybody how I think we met, but I want to go back further than that in terms of how long you've been interested in tarot.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I would say sometime mid 2016, life happens, and that was kind of whether you want to call it a godsmack or a wake up call, and things that happen in life to where I really couldn't fall back on, any, religion or any of the things that I was brought up with to kind of combat these things. And I came across tarot, and it was such a wonderful tool. And also to realize that a lot of it was internal. So it was such an introspective tool to realize that, some of this stuff may have been manifested by myself, and answered a lot of questions, and, fell in love with myself all over again and had a new perspective on life. And then after that, I think it's, you yourself, you get into it, you're so immersed in it that you want to give back. So you start doing, the little things that you can, maybe make your own version of a deck, or, push the community in some way.
Now, is your approach to tarot, would you say, I mean, most of the people that I run into in TarotTube are into the woo-woo aspect, I guess you might say. They are into the mystique, the cosmic quality, the psychic. Now, my approach is more one of I guess you'd say from a psychological viewpoint. point, but are you somewhere in that spectrum, or one or the other, or something else altogether? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think it just art mimics life, and so it's being basically wanting to experience both sides of the polarity, the extremes, the good and bad, trying to find a balance in the middle. Um,
Mhm.
the more you work and grow with it, you can kind of use discernment and realize, where it's all about intention. So where are people's intentions? Where are they coming from? What are they trying to do? Using this, because like I said, it's an individual tool, but it's something we can share with other people. However, no matter how deep you get into it, regardless of what someone perceives as my success, it's not your key to success. You've got your own special royal road to figure those things out.
Okay. And at one time, now I just discovered in the past few days that you have a channel on YouTube. It seems there may be like 8 videos there or something, and they're music related, but
Mhm.
I believe you have in the past had some tarot content on your channel. Would you like to talk about that?
Sure. I think that's a normal part of the process for anyone new to tarot. Like I said, it's because of social media and the extension of such a large community of people who enjoy doing these things. And it's not so common, say, where you live. I don't really know anyone where I live that, discusses tarot, is interested in looking at my collection of tarot decks or things of that nature. So, YouTube, we have a global audience. We have people that we can share these ideas. So yeah, that's how I got into it, and I was giving back, and then I was trying to make decks available. Just be a part of it. I was, enamored with it, and ultimately, what goes up must come down. So, in terms of spiritual ascension, you can only go so high, and then you're just talking to yourself, and you have to bring it back down and have it make sense for everybody else involved, because we're all at different levels. No one's better than anyone else. It's just we're at different speeds. So you kind of have to come off your high horse and get back to real living.
Now, did you take down your old content, or did you leave it there under a different channel
Yeah,
name?
yeah. It's just you get discouraged. I guess that's the best word for it. You try to build up a thick skin, but with social media, it's just people run wild, and especially nowadays, you try to be open and honest and express yourself to the best of your ability. And I mean, really, we're all just doing the best that we can with the information we have at this current time. And with social media, it's documented. And who knows, 3 months from then or 3 years, just people come out of context and just blow you apart. And so again, it's like I get to the point where it's like I want to share, but based on this feedback, do I really need to? Am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it for the benefit of others? So I just had to think about all that, and it wasn't worth the time, I guess, at that point.
Was your channel under your name or a different name?
Uh, I it may have changed names. You can adjust it in your Gmail settings, how you do that. So I'm trying. I don't even know. Maybe it was around the time I released my first deck. All that is. So may have been something similar to that.
Okay, because when I started out, I started off by watching a few channels, but then I found Simon of the Hermit's Cave, and I basically kind of foisted on him, would you be my mentor? I want you to be my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Would you advise me if I want to start a channel? What should I do, or what can I do? And I remember one of the things he goes is, don't put it under your name. He goes, add another free email, like go to Yahoo or Gmail or whatever, add a second one on under some other name, and then you can, now I'm really bad at tech, so I don't know whether they could still be under my name, but like I could change the name of the channel or not.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did was I created a second email on Yahoo, which I never check, and I don't even know at some point whether they get rid of that or not.
Yeah.
Or Toadstool Tarot. And I remembered when I was trying to come up with a name, I had all these names in mind, and I kept typing them in, and every time I did it, already taken, already taken. And it's like 6 in a row. And then I got really lackadaisical about it. I'm just looking around. I've written or self-published a little book of fairy tales. And on the back cover was a little illustration that I had gotten off of an old German postcard from 100 years ago or whatever, of these elves. And one was sitting on top of a toadstool and the other had fallen down, was sitting under the toadstool. I just looked at it and I thought, oh, Toadstool Tarot.
Yeah.
Wasn't even thinking. And it took. And I thought, oh, crap. Yeah. Now I'm stuck with that. I mean, I didn't have to be, because I mean, I was stuck with that email, but I didn't have to use that for the name of the, I could have kept going or opened another account. But in retrospect, I really like it. And I think it's interesting or unusual, and it kind of plays into my own sort of aesthetics. But at the time, I thought, oh, I had all these other names that I thought, were really well thought out. And then this one just like kind of fell in my lap, and it was like, oh, that one wasn't taken, so it took.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird, but that's how I got started. And I'm sort of glad in a way that he advised me to do that, because I could do it under my name, but I think you do get more flack from social media if you use your real name there. And it's not like I'm hiding it. Most people here, I think, know my real name, or I think on my info page or community page or whatever it probably says.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing you can do, I believe, is you can have the comments option turned off on all of your content. Now, the fun thing is sort of getting content and interacting with people. But if you're finding people trolling you and you can't deal with that, I'm just telling you this in case you should want to bring that stuff back online again. You can make it so people can't comment on any of your stuff.
Right.
I've had friends that have had tarot channels that have put out a lot of great content and then become so disgusted they removed it all. And I still find it to be valuable content months and years later. And so I feel bad in a way that they made the effort to present this wonderful stuff that nobody can view now, because every troll you have, there are 10, 20, 30 fans. So I won't twist your arm, but I would encourage you, if you still have that somewhere, to bring your content.
Well, there's no shortage of people who enjoy discussing tarot. So it's just a matter of whether I felt that what I was doing individually had, would resonate. I wasn't sure. So who knows? Maybe one day, I'll be back on that path.
I also think it's always interesting to get different people's perspectives too, regardless of their level of ability or their familiarity, or what. Everybody's got an opinion, and you'll find some that don't agree with you and some that do. And I like to play all sides on that. I mean, if you watch my channel, and I know you have, I do kind of the pros and cons of everything. I'm not a big fan of any kind of, shall we say, mob mentality or groupthink, or where everybody gangs up on everybody else. So I tend to be the curmudgeon that throws the monkey wrench into the works. If I see too many people jumping on a particular bandwagon, usually try to find the other side and present that view. Like, well, what if you feel this way instead, But so anyway, now back to how we met, because my recollection, and I think yours might be different, is that I had a channel for a while, and I was doing deck reviews, and I was looking for a black and white version of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And I think I did find one on there that was created in Germany, but it was long out of print and unavailable. And I asked around, and to my recollection, you jumped sort of out of the woodwork and said, oh, I have one I've done. Would you be interested in that? And I got in touch with you and ordered a copy. And before I show it, do you have a different version of how you came to know me?
Yeah, I think that was later on because, like I said, we were all part of that early tarot tube experience right before COVID, and that kind of brought everybody together, and it was a kind of a hub, meeting with Simon's channel, and then all of a sudden you would have all these offshoots, people sharing their individual passion for tarot and trying to do it in their own way. I think I had put out, it may have been the first deck that I ever re-illustrated, and it was a majors only of RWS with, I want to say, like pastel colors. And you're the only person who ever purchased that off Make Playing Cards. So I had done I think I did a Google search just to see if it existed out there. I was like, who is this one individual who's invested in me? Wow. And that's how I came across your channel.
I did you have a credit on it anywhere? Because I'm sure I still have it, but I don't even know one.
I may have not placed anything on the box related to me other than, you had purchased it from my Make Playing Card account. So.
And it was a majors only, because I think I have about 6 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is it the one with the really unusual, almost monotone colors?
They're very desaturated.
And bluish gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the only copy in existence.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. So you took it off of Make Playing Cards then?
Yeah. It was a time where, like I said, I had produced individual decks of my own. At one time I had sent you a copy maybe it was along with that black and white RWS. I sent you a copy of I guess you could consider it an oracle. It's a 40 card divination deck, all that is. And that was a weird time because I was so proud of it. It was my first tarot deck, and I invested in, oh my gosh, maybe 50 copies up front, because at the time that's what you did. You purchased a large number of them, and then you shipped them off to some of the more well-known YouTube influencers, and you hope that the orders would just come in. And unfortunately, I think with that, out of the 50 copies, I think I may have sold 6 and handed out 8, and I still have a box of them. So lesson learned.
Is it still on Make Playing Cards?
No. Like I said, I had those pre-printed. So I ordered 50 printed copies myself in hopes of distributing it later on. So
if you re-kickstart your channel, you might want to do a little walkthrough, and maybe you'll sell the rest of those.
It's possible.
I shouldn't admit to it, but I think I passed that one along to somebody else. It was something that I just couldn't personally relate to. But I want to encourage everybody who is watching, either now or later, support vendors and creators wherever and whenever you can find them. If it appeals to you, dive right in. You never know what that will lead to. I also want to welcome in several people that showed up a little later. Aspasia Rising, Beth, hello. And L. Phillips, welcome. And Simon's here. Hello, Simon, Hermit's Cave. I think, Star and Flurry, hello. Trinity Rain. And that's it. Okay. So I, let's see, where were we? You reached out to me about this black and white deck, and I'd like to show a couple images from it. Now, you used the Roses and Lilies back, but it's in a gray. And there's something I love about the gray. Also, it was at Make Playing Cards, and it has that wonderful cardstock that I like. It's probably the S30, I would imagine. And I love gray. I mean, I was in a band called Dark Day, and it was mostly because I love the potential of gray days where you don't know if you're going to get sun, rain, snow, what's going to happen. You don't know what time of day it is because you don't know where the sun is in the sky because you can't see it. So I've always loved sort of gray. And I love the kind of muted quality that this has, this gray roses and lilies background. And you could have done it in black because it's a black and white deck, but I kind of like that it's softened and warmed up a little bit with the gray. And this is, very lovely, sharp line work from Pixie. And I think it's really an important deck for people that love the RWS to have a black and white copy to really appreciate her drawings, her line work, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there about her creation of the deck. But some I have run across said that she didn't even apply the colors. So there was some other team that added the colors, that she just did the black and white illustration. I don't know how true that is, but I have been forever looking for what is to me the best and purest version of her art.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always wanted something with crystal clarity of every detail in the line work, but also if there's color involved, I want color that feels authentic to the time period, but also that I resonate with. And there have been so many dozens of different versions of the RWS in color with different color variations. Do you want to say anything about the black and white deck before we go into the talk about the color one?
Sure. I mean, the black and white came after the color, but I would definitely agree that for me personally, that's my favorite because it's the closest you'll ever get to Pixie's original intention for the deck with that line work, because it's just so consistent with all of the artwork that she had released prior to her, working on this project.
Mm-hmm. I won't go through it all. I just wanted some people to see. I think when you see it without the color, somehow you appreciate the drawings even more in a graphic way. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious because I just noticed today, can I ask what the source material for this version was? Because I noticed, particularly on the Fool, that the round flowers are hollow. Mm-hmm. If you look at the line work in the color version, they are too, and that the flower details are only supplied by the colors that were added later.
Right. Yes. It's like I said, it's an important piece of the puzzle in telling her story. So that is nothing but the line work, the ink work, the black. So that tarot, along with the color version, that is originally there's a couple other decks out there that utilized what was shared online years ago on a blog. It's basically the artwork that's owned by Saskia. So it's that original Roses and Lilies 1909.
Oh, okay. Now I have somewhere here, and I can't remember who the author is, an RWS coloring book. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's the same line work in that or not. And I thought at one point I might color my own, and then scan it and release it, but I never got around to it. But I think that is in the public domain, that line work. Mm-hmm. But it's a weird thing with the copyright, because the person that put out the coloring book, her name is on it. There's a publisher on it. In which case, does that mean the line work, artwork in the book is still copyright free, or does it now have a copyright on it because they've republished it? Right. I don't know how that works,
Yeah. Well, to my knowledge, researching it, is that the original intellectual creative property was Pamela Coleman Smith. And that could be debatable too, because during that time period, obviously women were not given their due respectfully. And so it could have been, her rights could have been transferred to A.E. Waite and even Ryder and Sons. Uh-huh. However, To me, it was always, she owned it. It was always hers.
Yeah.
So any products thereafter, I think, it was US Games that, acquired the copyright, and by changing the color, the back design, that it became their version, which is why they have the copyright on the front, and everybody wants the non-copyright version, to try to protect themselves. And that's when you get into the weird areas where they're just trying to protect themselves as an investment, to make money off of it. And, this poor woman, she poured everything into it, and it's, so many decades later, we all, just love it. And, she never saw much from it.
Okay. And was the Rider-Waite tarot the first tarot that you got, or did you start somewhere else?
Yeah, when I first got into it, I think I had two purchases. One was an Amazon, just run-of-the-mill RWS US Games, and then I had done some research, and like I said, the tarot tube stuff was taking off, and I came across independent releases. I never even thought about that. Like, wow, you have existing systems by big publishers, and now you have a group of people that say, you know what, I feel a little bit different about it. I might want to express it in a different way, somewhat close to the symbolism or the system, number of cards, but they do it in a totally different way, and it just blew my mind. And so I think the second was I want to say the wooden tarot.
Okay.
So yeah, and I mean, and then it's endless. You catch the bug, and the more you study it and get into it, I'm more RWS than I am ever Marseille or Thoth. I think I have way more RWS variants than anything.
I want to welcome in Tarot Geek, and also for anybody that showed up late, just to let you know, I'm talking to Ted Veitch. He's a graphic designer and content creator, musician, and has created tarot decks. And he created my favorite version of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which I have showed numerous times in my top favorites, and I've done walkthroughs, and I have compared it to every other version. Tarot nerds on there. Simon is a Pamela Coleman Smith nerd, just like us, maybe more so than other people present in the chat. And we both probably have at least 20 versions each of her original drawings, recolored or reconfigured by somebody else. And I have personally always been looking for the perfect one for me, which has the sharpest, crispest line work and the best color to my taste. The biggest put off for me on the US Games one was the appearance of the copyright. And I'm not keen on the back design. But in terms of the reproduction on the front, I like it very much. And of all the versions I've seen out there, that one is the closest match I've found to your color version. Even though it's not an exact match, there are differences, which I can get into or point out in samples. But I'd be curious to know what your source material is, because I compared it to the Pam A, and it doesn't match the Pam A as far as I can see. And I had at one point, I think it was Drive Through Tarot had a 1909, and I don't believe it matched that either. But so tell me something about how you got to doing this. And
right. So like I said, I had produced my own decks, and then I had my first step into RWS territory was, like I said, that majors only that you had purchased. And those were really bad pixelated copies of, who knows? They could have been a combination of A, B, C, and D just to put that majors only together. So there's many inconsistencies that I would work from.
Keep talking, because I'm going to look for that deck while you're telling this, but I can hear you.
Sure. So I had produced quite a few decks. I re-illustrated that deck at least twice because I was not happy with the quality of the line work the first time around. Second time around, it's different. Obviously, because my artistic style and the tools that I use, it wasn't meant to be an exact recreation of Pamela's work. But by putting it, re-illustrating it, and putting it into a digital format, I could then play with ideas. I could change the colors, and kind of put myself into that and say, well, hey, what's an alternate version of the coloring? What would I do? And it's endless. I can show examples of, once I had the line work for a complete deck, I could do kind of a spin off of the university books and then do it in a completely different color scheme. But you'll notice the artwork itself, that the face is just a little bit different.
I'm having trouble. I know I have it here somewhere, but I found another one, and I'm not sure this is Did you also do a Marseille one?
I did. You're talking about because I think I have that as an example.
Is it this one?
Color Infinito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought I got them at about the same time. And at the moment, I can't find the RWS one, but I have this one, and it's quite beautiful too. And it's similar. The color scheme is different, but it's very nice.
It's just playing with ideas. And like I said, once I re-illustrated it, I didn't like the lack of availability of, say, the DeLawrence decks. So I created, all the versions of the DeLawrence decks with the new artwork. And they were all available at one time or another on Make Playing Cards. But, I think it's just that lack of marketing or, getting it out there. People know who you are. And if it's available and it sat for a couple of years, and, I may have sold a half a dozen of those. So again, it's that, it was a little discouraged. I said, well, I'm going to give people what they want. Obviously, they're shy, and which rightfully so. They don't want to spend a lot of money on independent tarot decks. So I kind of set out and said, okay, well, I'm not really offering anything to the community, something that they don't already have. So how can I go back, which I was always going back to Pixie's original artwork. I said, okay, what's the best version of Pixie's work? And like I said, oddly enough, myself and a few other individuals, we happened upon that blog, came across all of those cards, and I said, this is it. This is Pixie. This Roses and Lilies copy is the best copy you'll ever find of, like I said, hopefully was her original intent with the line work. Even if this is, I always refer to this the Fool card, because if you look at the bag, so this is based on that RNL. If you look at the quality of the line work, which it may not come through on this camera, you look at the detail in that bag, the feathers, and you compare that to even, an early US games, no copyright, even that detail in that bag is muddy. So I think they were working off of a later version, which was most likely a Pam A, the reprint. So it still goes back to, Saskia is so blessed to be able to preserve and own that initial copy of that deck. And so for whatever it's worth, I just thought, wow, if only modern tarot readers could have, a very clean copy, a good representation of that.
I'm going to show you now. I don't know if my camera's, that's the Pam A versus the one you have. So you can see how much more detailed your version is than that. But I just wasn't clear on the source material, which one you used. And I'll tell you, the closest it felt to me was the whatever material they used for the Centennial. But where I did see a difference between yours and the Centennial was in there's some bleeding in yours. At first, I wasn't sure about that. And I'm curious about that, but I find it actually charming because here I'm going to show you on the 8 of Cups. Well, this is the Pam A 8 of Cups. You see the edges where the outlines are nice and sharp, black lines. On yours, the color here, you can see the color bleeds beyond
Mhm.
the black outline. And I have not found any other version that does that. Now, some might consider that a flaw. I find it charming, but I don't know where the source material came from that occurred that is not in the Pam A or other versions.
Yeah, which is why even though, I put that out for a short time, made it available, I don't take credit really, because it was a high res scan or facsimile of Saskia's deck. What I did was take that artwork and clean it up. I lightened it up. I boosted the saturation of the colors, the contrast, sharpened up the resolution of the line work, and went card by card, removing artifacts, whether that was a tear or a dirt, finger smudge. I did all that and removed the borders because the cards were faded, so they have that brown tarnished foxing look.
Ah,
Um, but I did try to keep at least some of the original, which is natural for offset lithography at that time, where the plates shift, through the color separations when they do each color. So it's natural. But I wanted to make it a clean, modern version, but change the back design as well.
yes.
Obviously, it's modern stock, Superior Smooth. The was a S33, but you have to differentiate it enough so that it doesn't tarnish the reputation of, like, say, what Saskia owns. What she has is super unique, very limited copies of that in terms of value. You don't want to do just a straight facsimile, because there are people out there that will try and pass it off as though, it may be an original with a missing box.
Uh-huh. Now, these have orange backs, which I love because I personally have never liked. I mean, I like the crackle backs of the Pam A,
Right.
but I've never liked, and I don't mind the roses and lilies design, but I've never liked that blue that
Mm-hmm.
they always used. It's a weird blue that I'm not even sure matches any of the blues in the palette of the illustrations. The blue on the back of the Centennial does come pretty close to matching some of the skies, that washed out kind of blue. But I like in yours, I say, again, I say, when I look at them side by side, yours is so close to me to the Centennial. The biggest difference I noticed, besides the copyright, is that yours has a stark white border and theirs has a kind of an aged kind of almost ivory border or something. But I love the texture. It probably isn't showing up on the camera, but this is not strictly blue. You can see it's sort of like a patchy sky or something, and I really love that degree of detail in the artwork of the scans.
Yeah, that's when we get into the discussion about, like you said, I believe Pamela did submit the 80 illustrations, black and white, and the printer produced 2 downsized copies, because I believe what she submitted was larger. So they produced 2 separate copies, black and white, and this is from a separate blog altogether, where someone, a Japanese tarot expert, claimed that this is the process, that they had 2. So one set of plates was black and white only, and that's what you see in all of the publications, the way it was promoted, and even the key to the tarot. That's why you have that clean black and white copy in those old records. She was also given a set that she could hand color so that the printers could actually approximate, her initial intent. And it's interesting because I had brought this up a long time ago, I think even on a Mary Kay Greer's blog. I said, well, hey, who are we forgetting? You know, we really love Pamela Coleman Smith, but I think there's another artist or group of artists in this process that when she submitted those colored examples back to the printer, if you research lithography and understand that it's all, at that time, it would have been either stone plates or possibly aluminum or zinc plates. It would take an artisan to go in and hand color with a grease pen all the different separations. And if you look at, you know, kind of the line work and the coloring and the way it's done, it's very crude and not like, you know, something that she would have done in her prior works.
Right. I'm not sure. I think that covers a lot of what I wanted to know. Other than there was a bit of conflict over your usage of the graphics when you released your. I don't know if you want to get into that or not.
Well, I mean, I can kind of touch on it. The response came well after the deck had been created. By the time I had produced that deck and had it available, it was similar to, you know, like I said, when I did the majors only deck, I looked to see if anybody had invested in it. And I think I only sold at most maybe 8 copies of that deck online. I had to sell other versions, you know, of the decks that I had created to reach a certain point to where they pay you out how to make playing cards. You know, I think you get paid out once you reach $100 in earnings. So for all those decks, you know, you make less than $4 a deck. So you have to sell at least, you know, what, 26 decks to get your payout.
Yeah.
And that took a year and a half. So you talk about, you know, this isn't as big a job as what she did, but it was a big job for little cash. You know, I wasn't doing it for the money. I was just trying to be, you know, put something out there and then move on.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people that collect understand this is not a money-making situation. I experienced the same thing. I think I put out about 5 decks, and I was a year and a half to 2 years into them being available on MPC before I ever got any payment at all.
Yeah.
And that was only, you know, I had sold $100 worth by then or something. And then they sent me a check. But I don't know if I've received more than 1, maybe 2 checks.
Yeah, you're still working on the next $100 payout.
Yeah.
So yeah, regarding that, like I said, it was a year and a half after I had released that deck. And finally, when I made my payout, I said, okay, I'm done. I don't want to get locked into another cycle where I have to sit for who knows how long to get another payout. That, you know, that wasn't the intention of it anyway. So I moved on. And then unfortunately, similar to like what I was saying, you cannot live in the comment section of social media. But I decided, I said, hey, I'm going to do a Google search and see if this RWS RL 20 version 2, if anybody's talking about it. And sure enough, there were some blogs where people had brought it up in comparison with the 1909 by Sea of London, the release by Conrad. And it just, yeah, I didn't really like the comments, things that were being said. And like you said, it all related back to perceived ownership. You know, I never claimed ownership over anything because it was in the public domain. And, you know, legally, like I said, it should all go back to Pamela Coleman Smith in one way or another. So I was trying to pay tribute to her and respect her and provide such a good, clean representation in the modern day of what she had done. And unfortunately, it turned into a, you know, who's better than who, what colors are better, all these things. I don't have to prove anything because if I look at the quality of it, I know that that's the best representation of her deck. And I wish more people had it for sure, but it just kind of, it got ugly.
I think with a lot of things, it's sort of a matter of personal taste. You know, for me, it's the most appealing color palette to my taste, whether it's the most accurate to her original vision of it or not. I like to think that it is, but we will never really know.
Yeah, because even Saskia's copy itself, it's just one out of a production run. So who knows? That may not even be the best copy of that run.
And the Pam A that I have, the yellow in the sky is a little more pale than yours. So I
Yeah.
like the more intense yellow personally.
Yeah, it's all art is subjective. I'm sitting here with like multiple copies of that, whether it's U.S. Games or
Do you by any chance have the James Rickliffe RWS 2.0?
no.
Now that's one. Now that's one of the first versions I saw on Make Playing Cards that I
Right.
bought, and since I had a copy of his deck when I decided to publish my own first deck, I followed his example because he had the S30 cardstock and I liked it. I thought, well, I don't have samples of anything else on there, but he's used this and I like the way it feels. I'm going to go with what he did. So I have to give him a little bit credit for that. But when I looked at his line work, he has more detail in the line work than anybody I've seen yet. Maybe even you, which might mean that he took more liberties than you did.
Yeah,
And
he could have re-illustrated it himself.
because so the like you said, the insignia on the bag, you can see what it is on his version.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas all the other ones, it's a little bit obscure. And so and his version has very dramatic ombres and weird atmospheric lighting and stuff, and he doesn't use her font at the bottom, but I did initially praise it as like my favorite copy because I liked the sharpness of the line. I thought, if you're ever puzzling over what's that image or that symbol in that card, go to his deck. You'll find out right away what it is.
Yeah.
Because the sharpness is there. Now, and yours, I would say, overall, it's better. But I'm maybe the sharpness isn't quite there in terms of those details. But overall, the coloring and everything is more authentic, I think, to what she might have intended. And it's my favorite one. Simon's asking, so we can't get the RWS RL 20 V2. Now there's another, you can answer that in a minute, but that's my big bone to pick with you. Why did you pick that name? It's like, why didn't you give it a name that rolls off the tongue a little bit easier?
Yeah.
All these code letters.
Yeah, an extensive anagram. It was RWS RL 20 version 2 because it was Rider-Waite Smith, Roses and Lilies, released in 2020, version 2. Version 1, I actually did a version 1, which was I think it was just I removed the outside borders and boosted the contrast a little bit. I really didn't do much, put much effort into it because I made a personal copy just to see how it would turn out in advance. Mm-hmm. And I put it on the linen stock, and I have to give it up to Melissa. I won't give her full name, but Melissa Z. She had mentioned that she would love to have something like that. So I think my first copy, that's what I was originally intended to do, was on linen. After I saw it and, could mess with it, and see it in the light and the feel of it, I decided to go with just the Superior Smooth, the S33, and then do a more extensive restoration where, like I said, card by card, take out all those funky artifacts and dirt and dust spots, things of that nature.
So wait, do you have a version since the one that I got from you?
No. I was speaking. I had an original version 1, which was never released. I had it up there. Nobody purchased it except for myself as a working copy. And then I scrapped it and put the time into, really putting the work into the restoration of the artwork. And that was version 2.
How did you come to choose the orange backs?
That was kind of an offshoot from an article I had read related to, is it Dusty White from waitesmith.org? I believe at one time there was a special, members only release, and it was like a brownish orange back that they had used. So it was kind of like being inspired by all these things. Not trying to make it exactly like that, because that's a piece in and of itself that's special for what it is. But you get inspired, by all these people and these things.
Nice. Well, I remember at one point maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember you contacting me because I think I said something about I'd like to have a backup copy. And you said something, I believe, to me about changing the color on the back. And I thought, no, 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 I like the orange. I don't
Yeah.
remember what color you were thinking of changing it to, but I particularly love that orange.
Yeah, I mean, to me, honestly, I don't want it to have anything to do with me. Obviously, it's about Pamela Coleman Smith. So, if the community decided, which that's how you're going to do that, right? Murray Hope, if you look her up, she said collectives are bad. You get too many people that are like-minded, and then it's, what's great for everyone? Well, nothing. You're always going to have that outside opinion. But, if I turned it over to the community and said, okay, if we're going to do this right, and it's not going to make all these other original decks, it's not going to take anything away from their value, then what color should the backs be? Should we, create a keepsake box so that it is a unique thing in and of itself? Which unfortunately that adds to the cost. Make playing cards.
Yeah.
I printed a deck myself that it was just like a one-off Oracle thing, and I think it was $70 just for one copy for me. And I thought no one's ever going to purchase that.
I had no issue with you sending it just shrink wrapped,
Yeah.
Because I mean, I bought one of these little, these things off of Amazon for I think $20. It's magnetic, and this is what I keep yours in. I do have to have a little tape here to remember what the hell the thing is called.
Yeah.
Because, and I remember when I did the walkthrough, I did guess that maybe that's what those stood for, the letters and the numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm asking you what the source material is. I should know. Roses and Lilies. It's right there.
Yep.
I don't know how that didn't.
Yeah. And like I said, although anyone who had happened upon that blog, they had complete access to all, 5 versions of the deck, Tudor Roses, and then the A, B, C, and D. Like I said, we all had access to that. I could have released those just as well. But, like I said, in getting back to, trying to be, morally responsible, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about all the versions. It was what's the best version that honors, Pamela. And then the Roses and Lilies, to me, that was it. So there's only one deck that ever needed to be, re-released. We can pour over the colors and all the other versions because we love doing that. But
the Roses and Lilies, I can't recall. Is that backed up by some documentation, or that was just aesthetically your personal favorite of the ones that were available?
Yeah, that's my favorite because, as you pointed out, it's the most technically accurate. It's very clean in the line work. Mm-hmm. All future generations were muddied up. I think the A is pretty sharp as a second release. D is similar to the A, and then B and C are completely different. And that's where we get into artisans later on, at the printer, recreating and adding different line work. You look at the faces of the Fool across all those decks, and, they're different. Yeah. Someone's, messed with it at some point or another. And she didn't have anything to do with that after the fact.
Now, okay, we're almost on the hour, so I want to open it up if anybody in the chat has any questions that you might be willing to address. But one of them I did see come through earlier is there any way for people to get a copy of this orange? I'll call it the Orange Back Tarot.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I could make it available again, and like I said, with it being in the public domain, this and that, yeah, I could do it, and legally this and that. But like I said, it was a emotional touch point where, like I said, it was such negative feedback from the people, who owned the deck and this and that, and in the community at that time. I was like, well, if you're just going to be negative about it, then I'll pull it away. So, I really think it should be out there. I'm not sure how to go about doing it. Even though legally I have the right, I can go ahead and put that thing up there. I guess it's just a matter of whether the demand is there. There's so many variants these days.
Simon is shouting in the chat in capital letters. Please do.
Yeah.
No,
Only if Simon tells me, because I used to join his lives and I would always put in a comment and say, what does the rabbit symbolize in the background? And he would never answer. So only if Simon tells me what the rabbit's about.
The rabbit on the Queen of Pentacles?
No, I think he had a rabbit in the background of his channel.
Okay. Oh, I think they're big on hares in the UK, but I'm not really sure about the symbolism of the hare. So probably the least fuss for you would be to put it back on MPC, but I don't know if there's like kind of a gate you can put on that to make it only available to people that personally request for you, or if you even want to get involved in that. Or
no, I think I would just openly just make it available. But like I said, I've never been into it for the money. So it's kind of an awkward thing now because I do want it to exist, but I'm trying not to take credit for it. So as soon as I release this, then, who knows how many decks sell. I might sell my $100 payout, in the first month this time instead of a year and a half.
Well, another thing you could do, depending, and I'm happy to help you with this, is you could make it available again on MPC for a limited time.
Yeah.
Like say a month or something. And then take it off again. And that way I would help you promote it, at least on my channel, and say, look, if you guys want this, there's just a small window where you can order this.
Yeah. I mean, possibly. I don't like doing that because I think any scam is always, hey, we need your money and we need it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll have to sit with it. I definitely would like to do it. I'm surprised that even US Games or another publisher hasn't taken the time to, really pay tribute to it and do what I've done, because they could release it at mass, thousands of copies. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming and spending the time with us to talk about it. I also appreciate letting people know that you didn't do this for a quick buck and that you did it out of sheer love for the original artwork and respect due to Pamela Coleman Smith, because I think a lot of people wondered, every time one of these pops up, they wonder, are they just
looking down on us? And she's saying, hey, artist to another, you're doing right.
Yeah. Simon said, the hair was 3D printed and it was a gift, and he loves hairs.
Excellent.
He said, what was your channel name when you came into the lives?
Like I said, that we're talking almost over 5 years ago. So it could have been All That Is. It could have been Teddy. Okay. I don't know. I think when I first released that deck, I sent a copy to Ethany. And I think Simon was a big follower of Ethany at that time. He had some nice comments. And I think I knew Simon before he was the Hermit. I think I knew him when he was Two Spirit.
Yeah. Wow. So you've been in Tarot Tube longer than I have then, even.
Yeah. I just, I think there's a lot of people that are part of it. They may not speak up, but, we pay attention. We're very observant and we see what's going on in the community and, kind of jump in where we feel, it reflects where we're at that current time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ted, thanks so much for sharing your time with us today and talking about this. And if you do post it again, let me know and I'll happily spread the word on my channel. And I suspect Simon will too, if he gets hold of a copy. I've been pushing it on him for some time, but I don't think I should have showed it to him physically when he was here for a visit a couple weeks ago. But
it's tough because we all own so many different versions. It's, and I want to have all of them too.
Well, I'm always pushing what I think is the best.
Yeah.
The best of the best. And I'm still convinced. I'm not deterred. I went and ordered the PMA thinking, I don't think so, but let's see. And it doesn't, I don't think it holds a candle to your copy. Now, somebody else was telling me that the Taschen book version is very good, but I'm thinking, gee, do I want to spend that kind of money?
Right.
I really need the book. I kind of just want the deck so I can compare it to yours, but I don't know. Do you have that book by any chance?
No, I do not. Nope.
Yeah. So I don't know how they compare side by side.
And again, going back to what's their original source material, because I think even Los Scarabeo, when they released their 1909, it was actually like a later version, because the face of the fool on the box is like a B or a C. So it's not even a Roses and Lilies or A.
Wow. Wow. Well, man, I feel kind of overwhelmed, and at some point I should get all the people on here that are sort of authorities on Pamela Coleman Smith in a panel to discuss all the details, because I don't know very much. I know Melissa and you and Simon and Brandt, I think, and a few other people have discussed these decks and these histories, but yeah, I don't really know that much about. I just know what I like, as people say when they look at art, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna let you go. Simon's saying source of material is Saskia's deck. I don't know whether to end on the controversy or not, because again, my idea about that is it's copyright free now, and the source material is not nobody living's material.
Yeah, I mean, she does have rights related to the property. She owns that deck. That's her property. But the intellectual creative property is, Pamela. So
Pamela Coleman Smith is the one that has the rights to that deck. She will never see a penny from it now.
Yeah.
And as we discussed before we went live, as far as I know, there is no Pamela Coleman Smith estate to collect royalties on all these dozens of versions of decks using her art coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't want to split hairs with who's got the rights to which version and stuff. It's like Pamela has the rights. Anybody else is making money off of Pamela. Okay. And people with the tightest profit margin are the ones paying respect to her memory rather than trying to make a buck off of it. So I respect what you tried to do. I'm sorry for the backlash that you got. And any haters out there, go ahead and hate if you like. It's that's your business. You know, nothing to do with anything else. So and if I get any news of this becoming available, I will let people know. And all right, enough's enough. 108. Thanks everybody for tuning in and joining us, and thank you again, Ted, so much for being here.
No, thank you, Robin. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's time.
If you don't mind hanging around just a minute after I go off live. So
no, it sounds good.
Okay. See you all next week, everybody. Oh, what's that the back of?
It was another offshoot at one time. You got to make these things unique.
Nice.
Maybe we'll do a raffle. There's only 2 copies in existence, but it was a spin off of one of the line works that I recreated the entire deck. And so I said, hey, I'm going to do a separate deck, and then I'm going to kind of use the colors from the albino weight, put some nice cream backs on it.
Wow. Well, I cut you short. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss?
I've got too many things to share. Maybe it's another video, but again, let's
definitely meet up again and do another one with all the other stuff you have to share.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, folks. Till next week.